I usually think, okay, I think of it starting when I was about 12. And at that time, everyone in junior high is really into getting into their thing of what's going to show them off, what's going to make them different from everyone else. And at that time, I really wanted to be quite alone and quite, if I was going to be rebellious, I was going to do it on my own. Right? And I was going to be completely self-contained in some way. I was going to be my own force. I didn't want to be part of any of the cliques in the school. I didn't want to be part of anyone's little group. And the things I started to do to stand out were really kind of violent and mean little things. Like, and it wasn't like I was torturing puppies or anything, but I would, I'd fuck up other kids' lockers or whatever, and
minor things.
Well, yeah, I guess they were kind of minor, but. And looking back, they were. I mean, everyone would get. That was the thing about being in 7th grade or 8th grade. It was like, oh my God, did you hear Josie Stan-Pawlowski did this weird thing with this guy or whatever? It's like, oh my God, and everyone would talk and it would get blown out of proportion. And yet, so that's the thing. I mean, I knew I was going for reactions from people, but a lot of times, like I remember one of the things I would do, especially I'd go out alone on the weekends because I didn't really have any friends at the time, and I would go around fucking with the properties of people in the area, and it wasn't usually people I knew, but if I knew they weren't home or whatever, I would do stuff like put glue in their locks, or another really fucked up thing was that I'd try to fuck with people's cars. I'd drain the oil out of the car while I was sitting in the parking lot that weekend, or so I could do something like that. It was really, if I could find. I did a couple things where if I could get into the car, get into the engine of the car, which isn't really all that hard to do.
Did you get caught doing these things?
Oh no, not that I don't think so. I mean, I always had the feeling that people were going to figure it out as me, that there was this wave of crime, but I don't think it was like I was terrorizing the town or anything. I was just. But
you went around sticking glue in people's locks.
Yeah, I think I did it maybe. It seemed at the time that I was doing it a lot, but looking back, I think I really did it maybe once a month. And I think it was pretty scattered. I don't think it was. I never would go by the same house twice. It wasn't like I was targeting people, and it was never people I knew. And in that way, it makes sense that no one would ever figure it out. And it's not the kind of thing they report in the paper.
So they were harmless.
They were harmless things, but I knew there were things that were going to piss people off, and I knew there were things that generally was, that I could somehow take stock in to make me feel like a badass. And one really weird thing I'd do is I'd piss in people's mailboxes. I know, but I would go around and find a mailbox, and if I was out that night and I don't know, I didn't even drink then, if I had a couple of Cokes in me or something and I had to go, I'd find someone's mailbox and just piss in it.
Did you think this was normal?
I didn't think that was really all that abnormal. I thought it was really funny. I thought it was a really badass thing to do. Like the next day, they'd go out and they'd, find piss in their mailbox or something. I didn't know.
So did you tell anyone that you did this?
Not then. No, again, it was the kind of thing I was taking, storing up because I knew it was making me bad, and I was going to eventually go about revealing myself in some way. I didn't know what my plan was, and I just thought, well, there was this one night where I was, this is the weird thing I guess about the pissing in the mailbox thing, because there was one night that I was standing on the street, and I was on the street pissing in a mailbox, and I guess I've been standing there pissing in the mailbox, and I heard a door open, and it was the house owner. I guess they'd seen me out in the street, and I just stood there and I put my dick back in my pants, and I was like, okay. And I didn't run or anything. I just waited to see what would happen, and the guy was like, hey, what the hell are you doing? You pissing in my mailbox, whatever? And I stood there and waited for something to happen, and I didn't respond. I just looked at him, and eventually I thought he was going to come at me or something, and he just was we kind of had this weird little standoff, and then I really kind of casually walked away. And yet that was the moment that I really, that was the first time I really had confronted that I was, I had these things I was doing had a direct effect. I was never around when these people started their car and found out that, the oil was drained out or there was glue in their locks. I was never around to confront the human part of it. And that was the weird time and then after that, I stopped doing a lot of that. And what brought this all up, what got me thinking about was what happened last year.
Which one?
With this one night I was out. It was weird. It was near here, and it was a time I was drinking a lot, and I was going out, and one night stopped by a bar, and I don't think I even did anything really. I don't think I was doing anything unusual that night. I think I had a few drinks, and I got out of the bar. I was walking home. It was a cold night, and this guy, I guess I was a good ways, from the bar, where this guy comes out of the bar and he's yelling at me like, hey, hey, you, come here. And I didn't think anything. I was kind of half cocked and didn't want to deal with this asshole. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, fuck him. And eventually he got up to me and he, kind of shoved me or grabbed me from behind. He was like, you didn't hear, what's your problem? You didn't hear me? And I was like, no, what is it? And he says some shit about like, what are you doing with my girlfriend or whatever. You looked at her. He kept saying, you looked at her, didn't you? Admit it. He was trying to get me to like admit I looked at his girlfriend. And I didn't think anything of it until he started saying, well, I'm going to fuck you up. It was like actually threatening me. And I kept trying to walk away, and I kept thinking, okay, where is this going? He's going to hit me, and I'm about to hit him back. I'm about to like fight him. And there was no one around. It was just in the street between the bar and my house.
So freaking out.
Yeah, well, no. I kind of was out of it. I was, I was really drunk, and I didn't have any idea what he was talking about. Like, what is his girlfriend? I didn't even know who he was talking about. I mean, I don't remember seeing any woman I had seen. I looked at her, and he kept, threatening me, and I kept thinking, well, this is nothing I want to deal with. I'm going to walk away. And then he pulled a gun out. He had a gun on him, right?
Yeah.
And he says, what do you think of this? That was his line. What do you think of this? What are you going to do about this? And I didn't know what to say. It was just this moment where I had to take stock of that. And like I did, I guess through my badass punk years in junior high. And
But what did you say? But what did you do?
I just stood there, and I didn't know. I never had a gun. I'd been around guns before. I fired guns, times before. I didn't like shoot people, and I never had anyone shoot at me. And I thought that was going to happen. I thought he was going to shoot me, and I was getting prepared to. I was actually standing there thinking, what part of my body is he going to hit? What is he going to? I thought, what is he going to do? And if he shoots me, where? And I didn't, and I just froze up.
Wow, you must have been so scared.
Yeah, it was really weird. And that, a few minutes later, I mean, it wasn't, I always think I walked away and got pretty far along. Like, like we were standing there for a while. It's one of those things where you always remember it being a lot longer than it was.
Right.
But, I started to turn around, and then he shot me.